in the last meeting between the farmers and the government, it seemed that the government was very keen on the Supreme Court coming out with an order or a resolution to the current face-off. But in the manner in which the Supreme Court conducted today's hearings, it would suggest that they're actually quite upset with your government, quite upset about the manner in which this protest has been handled, so much so that the Chief Justice asked whether the government was a part of the problem or the solution. What are you making of what we've seen so far from the courts?
See, Rahul, with all due respect, this is a very sensitive issue. With all due respect to the government as well as the Supreme Court and the farmers as well, I would say that, well, since morning the narrative has been that the government has been rebuked by the Supreme Court. But I personally see this as a positive rebuke by the Supreme Court, in the sense that, look, some of the most important issues of the Supreme Court was, why not talks? Why not a committee? Why not in fact take suggestions of the farmers? Why in fact farmers are suffering in cold? Why not an alternative site? Why COVID rules are not followed? So you would see all these were part of the government's concern right from the day one. The government wanted a committee. A committee was proposed to the 37 organization of the farmers, which they blatantly refused, that they don't want to talk to any committee. All they want was repeal of laws, number one. Today the Supreme Court has reiterated that a committee should be formed. I don't know what would be the order tomorrow, but they have talked of a committee today. Number two,
no, but that's not the only thing, Dr. Patra, the Supreme Court observed. It said, what a consultative process have you followed before the law? All these committees that you now want to form, the Supreme Court seems to have been asking your government, why was this not done before the laws came? Why was consensus not evolved and then the laws brought to Parliament, as has been the case with laws in the past? That's the question that the Supreme Court is asking, sir.
To which Mr. Salve had answered, and I have the answer in front of me. The answer was, the law was the result of crystallization of recommendations of several committees. The name of the committees submitted thus. Since 2 decades, it started with the year 2000 with the Shankarlal Guru Committee, thereafter the Model APMC Act in 2003, APMC Rules in 2007, Committee of the Chief Ministers of Haryana, Punjab, Bihar and West Bengal in 2010, and approved by the Agriculture Ministers of 10 states in 2013, Model APLM Act in 2013, and finally approved by the Parliament in 2020. Thus was the answer by the Attorney General of the country. So in fact, that was a question by the Supreme Court, which has been in all its means answered by the Attorney General with facts. And you would agree, if colloquially I am allowed to put my emotion over here, for years altogether we had committees. We had committees on committees demanding betterment of lives of the farmers, agriculturists. And this is what the Modi government has done today. Do you still want that only committees and committees should be formed and we should not get the conclusion as to how the farmer's life could be bettered, is my question.
Sanjay Hegde, it seems the Supreme Court was setting the stage for the laws to be stayed. I don't want to prejudge what the bench will decide tomorrow, but the Attorney General referred to the case of the state of Uttar Pradesh versus Hirinder Pal Singh in 2011, where it was held that cases where validity of provisions is under challenge, the court should exercise self-restraint in passing interim orders. You know, the court cannot stay a legislation unless the court finds law is passed without legislative competence, law violates fundamental rights, law violates other provisions of the Constitution. So, therefore, can the Supreme Court just turn around and say, we want to put the law on hold? I mean, whose job is it to make laws? It's the executive's job, it's the government's job, it's Parliament's job to pass it. Whether you like the manner in which the law was passed or not, the fact is that Parliament has passed the new laws. Do you think the Supreme Court can just turn around tomorrow morning and stay those laws?
Let me tell you what happened way back in the late 80s. The VP Singh government bought in Mandal. The North India burned. People were immolating themselves. When the Supreme Court at that point of time stepped in and stayed it. Peace returned. Two years later, when the matter was finally heard, the Supreme Court upheld Mandal with certain modifications. But that's how a process is tempered. Now the thing is, I heard Mr. Patra respectfully. Here was a case where The opposition in parliament said, let's send it to a legislative committee, a committee of parliament. That was denied. The chief minister of Punjab came to the president with the grievances. The president refused to meet the chief minister. If there had been dialogue preceding legislation, there would have been much wider acceptance. The consent of the governed is a cardinal principle of good legislation. It can't be that the farmers do not know what is good for them.